Tagidu, Tagidu, Shechoyla Sahavo, Yoni, Agud, Shechoyla Sahavo, Yoni. Shechoyla Sahaboni, oy matagidu loy, Sahaboni, aha, oy matagidu. Shechoyla Sahabo, Agut Bochra Boisai. Lili Nishmasim Rossi Rusmas Mordechai. Welcome to all the guests. Many guests. I'm like, another one. Shalom Aleichem. Yeshakar Rebelli from Melbourne, Australia. Stevie Rose. I've tried multiple times to commit to Daf Yomi. Hopefully, now that I'm following MDY, this time it will be the one. Robert Bixenspanner. You have no idea how I enjoy being part of the family of MDY. I follow you every single day while learning. Since I discovered you while learning Sukkah, Lahagdil Torah La'adira, Beryl Bixenspanner. I'm going to go through these quickly because it's Motzei Shabbos. We might have a couple extra minutes here, although we started a little late. By Adrian Rubin. So Rebelli and his team, thanks for such a wonderful share. I've done the daf for years, but never understood it like now. I appreciate all the effort which is put into preparing it. May we all learn and be Messiah, men themselves together in good health. Shkoyach, Adrian Rubin, I'm from Sholem HaKoy in Manchester. Used to be in Johannesburg. By Shloimi. Listen to this. Every day I get one of these. This is today's. Thank you so much for reigniting my learning after 18 years. 18 years, Shloimi. I follow the Daf on podcast, and I don't follow with the Gemara. I got a number of these recently. I hope it counts. Why doesn't it count? Of course, listen to Torah. It doesn't say that you have to look inside. As long as you're following. Somebody wants to know if you can make a siyum, he just follows. Yeah. Be'ezer Hashem, we're going to go back to the times that we had the Gemara on the actual page. We just need a volunteer during Shir to do the Merkava, follow it, and then it could go. I know, his podcast, but even guys that are watching it on YouTube, sometimes they're doing something else, they can't hold the Gemara, they're jogging, whatever. If it's on the screen, it's a lot better.
Maybe we can get it on Spotify with the Gemara. Look at it on Spotify.
Well, we can talk about it later. Or we can talk about it now. What do you say? You guys have some time? No, yes. What are you timing? Yona Pollack says, I want to take a moment to be Makar Toiva. My father made his fourth siyum, I guess not with us, in January 2020. My wife has pushed me to join. Relocated back to the East Coast. Had trouble finding a chavrusa. My wife recommended that I call a friend here in Baltimore. Big kids. So long story short, Ian Seder, that didn't work out so well, and now he's with us. So Baruch Hashem. Thank you, Yona Pollack. It's such a machaya to be able to work and do the daf simultaneously. You see, so he's working and doing the daf. Ari Blau, MDY Toronto rep, says that he heard a great insight because I got some emails about this thing that it seems like from the Gemara that you should first learn Torah, learn Gemara, and then afterwards you do Kabbalah. And then some of the guys that learn Kabbalah all day, they sent me emails. What do you mean? You read this in our generation, it's different than what the Gemara meant, and today you should learn Kabbalah first. So anyway, here's Ari Blau from Toronto. He says he heard a great mashal. I like it. He says there are guys that they use WhatsApp all day, and there's guys, Shalom Aleichem, how you? And you, Shalom Aleichem. Wow, there's a lot of guests. If you're a guest, raise your hand for a second. Oh wow, I don't want to count, but there's literally 20 guests there. Pshee! And there's two over here that are embarrassed. They went like this. Okay, so some people like WhatsApp. And some people like to tinker in the insides of WhatsApp. So they go inside and look at the code. He says, but what if your entire life, all you do is look at the code of WhatsApp and you never use WhatsApp? He says, that's Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the inside. You have to know the inner workings. That's the code. But it's great to know how it works and use it. But if you only know how it works and you never use it, fine. That's his thing. And once he's added, he says, by the way, there's a tremendous grand siyum of Seder Mayed, Tuesday, March 8th, 7:30 at the Sephardic Kehillah Center in Toronto. The world-renowned speaker, Rabbi Tzvi Sittner, right? That's how you pronounce it? And the Zemer Orchestra. The kids is going to be a massive event, and they're going to the tribute to the Noshim Tzidkaniyos. So register today at mdytoronto.com. There's a, what? mdycom.com. He's saying mdytoronto.com. I guess they have their own little thing. Here's their, I didn't print it out completely, but they had their own little flyer. Yaakov Daniel says, how do I convince people to join the Daf? Well, if you enjoy it, tell people about how you enjoy it and how it changed your life. That's the best aids I could give you. I guess we'll do this a different time. I should open the box. I told you, but you checked it.
I did check it.
From Anonymous. Woo! Gewaldig. Merkaz Daf Yomi, VIP guest book. Beautiful. Yishkoach, Mr. Anonymous. Wow. Okay. So now we're going to go on to our third guest book. So all the guys that wrote over there. Okay. Fine. We'll start using this. Where should we leave it? In here. And whoever wants, after Shachris or before Shachris, it's right over here for all the guests. Here, you know what? Give it to these guys. Start passing it out. We got a lot of guests there. You start out tonight. Givaldik. I do not have a pen, but there's one in the kitchen. Just real quickly, I would like to thank Rebelli for amazing share that he gives. Started my cotton, and now I guess I could say I'm hooked. That's Lacha Rabba. Keep up the good work. Duty Shift, Muncie, New York. All right, so we got a lot of these out of the way. Oh, this was good. I just want to show you this last one. Here's the Pels were here on Sunday, and he says he was visiting Ir David with my students. I think that's who it was, unless it's somebody else. Harry Pell. And he saw a painting on the wall at the original Bayit Sheni Street they discovered that went from Shiloach Pool up to Harabait. If not for Daf Yomi, I wouldn't have understood why the artist painted one child being carried on his father's shoulders and another child being led by his father's hand. Machloikas Beishamei B'Yisrael. Here it is. He's taking things in a little differently now. Here's the father holding the hand, and here's the father holding his child on his shoulder, going up. It makes it beautiful. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we are on Daf Tes Zayin Omid Beis. Sponsors, that's also something. Ooh, wow, it's late. The month of Kailol, and we have the top guys. We have 4 guys that literally know Shas. We have a guy that scored the highest score in the world in Shas on the Dirshu test. And now they're going for 850 daf, and some of them are going for 1,000 daf test with Taisvis, 2. So that Kailol, and which helps out MDY a lot behind the scenes. So the Kailol is sponsored by Mr. Anonymous, Lili Nishmas, Chaya Bas Yosef. Mesechtes Chagigah is dedicated by the Kessler and Davis families, Refuah Shleimah from Miriam Esther Bas Dvar Bikarev. Sponsor Paras HaChodesh as a schus for Refuah Shlomo Ben Livsha and Rivka Bas Gila that they should be Zoichet to Zerish Kayama Bikarev. Paras HaChodesh, a young 19-year-old, sponsored the month. Sholi Rosenfeld, in memory of my dear friend Yehuda Augenbaum. Jonathan Davidov, in memory of Bechor Davidov Ben Penir, may the Neshama have an Aliyah, and by David Joseph, first yard site, Moshe Ben Yosef. All right, here we go. We're holding, I don't know how many lines, 20 lines from the bottom. Yotzim Menachem Benichnas Shamai, Daf Tezayin Omid Beis. So, if you recall, we had the Zugas. The Zugas are peers, and each one of these Zugas is a generation. You had Yosef ben Yezer together with Yosef ben Yochanan. That's a pair. Generation later, Yeshua ben Prachya, and I just made a chart here to show that the blue are the Av Bezdin, the red are the Nasi, and then of course, once we're here, might as well show how it flipped according to one Shita. I didn't tell you that why this was so interesting, because when you flip it, the white covers it, but it's not white anymore, there's something else. Okay, fine. Different time, we'll explain it. So, the famous ones are Shmaya and Avtalion, one Zug, and Hill and Shammai are the final Zug. We're very familiar with Shammai and Hill, and their Talmidim are called Beis Shammai and Beis Hill. But it says in the Mishnah that before there was a Shammai, there was Menachem. And Menachem, and again, and I don't know if I mentioned it then, I should have, they don't have a Reb. There's no Toyar. They're not called a Rav Goyin, Reb Shammai, like Tanoim and Amoraim. Not Rebbe Shammai, not Reb Rashke Bahag. They were so great, no need for a name. Like Yehoshua is not Reb Yehoshua. He's Yeshua. He is the Talmud of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's it. So, in the Mishnah it says that there was Menachem. But he went out. He left. Says the Gemara, Leichem Yatza, where did he go? Abaye Omar, Yatza Taber Surah. He went off the derech. That's what it means he left. The Mishnah says that there's no argument between the two, between Hillel and Menachem. Rabba Omar, Yatza L'Avodas HaMelech. He left to go work for the king. So, there was a need for Klal Yisrael. He wanted to go in there and help out the Jews from the inside. Tanya Nami Hachi Yatza Menachem L'Avodas HaMelech. He left to the king. V'yatzu Imay Shmoinim Zugais. 80 pairs of Talmidim, Levushin Sirika, and they went out with their best clothing, Malchus Dika clothing. So the Ben Yoyada says here, unbelievable thing, he says that Abaye also agrees that he went to the king. But since he left the Sanhedrin, there's no machloikis. Did he go to the king or not? Yes, he worked for the king. Abaye holds that since he went to the king and he left Kailo, so to speak, he left learning life, that's going off the derech. That's what the Ben Yehoyada says. It's going off. You should never leave the Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin. Topic Klal Yisrael. Don't leave.
They said that about Mordechai also. He dropped in steam when he went to work with.
I'm not familiar, but okay. Yeah. No, listen. He's talking and learning. It's Givaldic. Rabbi Factor. By the way, coming to Yavama soon. He's one of the characters. All right. Rav Shemin. Omar Rav Shemin Barabba Omar B'Yochanan. Lo Elam Al Tei Shvus Kal Beinecha. If this is your first time doing the daf, and a lot of Yeshiva Bachim probably are not even familiar with this word. Shvus means a Issa de Rabbanan. The Rabbanan. It's called in the language of the Gemara a Shvus. Says, what was the first machlaikas in Klal Yisrael? Our Mishnah we just learned. That what? Whether or not you're permitted to lean on an animal to do smicha for the shchita of the karban on Yantav. Now, it's one of the things you have to do. You have to do smicha. So don't do it today. Do it a different day. Says Gemara, but what's the problem? The problem is I don't want you leaning on the animal. Why can't you lean on an animal? Because you're using the animal. And what's wrong with using an animal? It's shvus. It's only a Issa D'Rabbanan. You see from here, don't take the Rabbanans lightly. A lot of people, it's the Rabbanan. No, nobody sees, nobody cares. It's just the Rabbanan. I'll do it. For now, texting, the Rabbanan. No. You're not going to bring a carbon on Yantif because it's a shvus. It's the Rabbanan. It's very chomer. The whole Isser to lean on an animal is a Rabbanan. And they're going back and forth. Hill and Shami, all the Zugas, all 5 generations, back and forth. Could you can? Pshita. What's the Chiddush? I mean, of course, this is the Rabbanan, this is the Rabbanan. What? We're not in high school here. We know this is the Rabbanan, like this is the Raisa. Or whatever the pasuk is. You can't, if Chacham says something, you have to do it. Like the Raisa. Says the Gemara, Lois Sasur. Yeah, Lois Sasur. That's the pasuk I was looking for. Thank you. Says the Gemara Pshita. Shvus mitzvah itzrichalei. Over here it's a little different. Over here it's the covenant mitzvah. I'm over the Rabbanan in order to be Mekayim a mitzvah. Maybe in such a situation I should be able to be over under the Rabbanan. Hanami Pshita. It's Pashat. There's many Gemaras like that. Says the Gemara La Pukim Ad Omar Bismicha Gufa Pligi. There's machlokes whether or not you have to do smicha on a shalmei chayva at all. That's a different machlokes. And maybe that perhaps is the machlokes in our Mishnah. Kamashmala, no. Everybody agrees they have to do smicha on a shalmei chayva. The only machlokes is, does it push off yantav or not? Kamashmala shvus the pli. The machlokes is in the rabbanon that you put perform or the rabbanon on yantav. Omar Rami Bar Chama Shmamina smicha b'chol koycha b'yinan. Must be that this leaning right here, that the kohen is doing, or the owner of the animal does, must be with all your might. You have to put your body weight on it. If you move the animal, you fall to the floor. You're not just putting your hands on. Why? Mike of it. He's not using the animal. Lismoich. Let him put his hands. Like a father gives a bracha to his kid on Friday night. He's not leaning on it. Just put. What's the big deal? There's no Issa D'Rabbanan. You're allowed to put your hand on a car on Shabbos. Let's say if you're not going to move the car, it's not an Issa. The Issa is to put your body weight on it. No Issa Muktzah if you're not going to move it. Mike of it. Lismoich. Meisvei. So you see from here that the chiyuv of smicha, we learn from here that the chiyuv to lismach is your whole body weight. Ask the Gemara, Meisvei, daber b'nei Yisrael, v'samach, du smicha, b'nei Yisrael saimchim, we learn from here, v'ei b'nei Yisrael saimchais. A woman doesn't do smicha. Taisus points out that a woman can do shchita, but not smicha. In the Beis Hamikdash, shchita. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Bnei Yisrael Samchos Rishos. They could if they want to. Omer Rabbi Yossi, Sachli Abba Elazar told me, Pamachas Hoyolono Egel Shezivch Shlamim. We once had a calf. Vevinu le'ezres nashim. Of course, the woman can't go into the Azara, but we'll bring the carbon out to her into the Ezres Nashim, which is not the Ezres Nashim. It's not for women. It's just the what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, but Ezres Nashim, because on the Chalamai they used to stand up on top, but it's that courtyard. Thank you, the courtyard, not the Azar, the courtyard in front. V'samchu alav nashim, and he brings. I saw with my own eyes. There was smicha, loy mipnei shesmicha v'nashim. Not because there's a chiyuv for the women to do smicha. Look at the lasis nachas ruach the nashim. Fine. We want to. It's a good thing to be nice to the women. Let them feel that they're a part of it. Oh, thank you. This right over here. Oh, the heichal is falling. No, you. This is the Ezres Nashim. This whole area, this giant area right over here, is the Ezres Nashim. The one that you got me, the whole shear got me, is still at home. We have to find a place right there. This is the Azara in here. This is where the Kohanim, this is where they do Shechita. So they brought the animal out to this area, to the courtyard. Okay, thank you, Hillel. Now, what's the raya? So first of all, Taisus says that women will make a bracha, even though they're not mechuyev to, but since we're being nice to them, we're letting them do it, they can make a bracha on it also. But if a woman has to lean down with all her might and do smicha, that's the halacha, to do it with all your might, with all your body weight, just to be nice to the women. You can't lean on an animal that's a carbon. The only reason you're allowed to lean on an animal carbon because it's your chiyuv. But if you don't have a chiyuv, just be nice to the kids. Oh, every kid, come by here, lean on it. That's avodah b'kachim. You're not allowed to use kachim. Elav shmamino lebina b'kol chaychay. L'chayr, from here you see that smicha doesn't need to be with all your might. What's the obvious answer? That maybe when we were nice to the women, we let them do smicha without being. We tell them do it lightly. So that's what the Gemara answers. A man has to do with all his force. But we tell the women, just go above it. Don't go with all your might. Okay. So why don't you just say that women are not chayav at all? The less of the smicha klal. Okay, it's one of these. We're saying two things. First of all, you should know women are not chayav at all. But even if they do it, they're not going to do it with all their might. They'll do it just putting their hands down very lightly. What? Not our daily. The bottom line is la halacha. Smicha has to be with all your might. It seems like from the Rishonim here, the Rishonim argue that since a woman is not chayav, if she does do it, she should do it without putting force on it, because you're not allowed to use a carbon. However, according to Chachamim, a woman would be aser. Why? Because it looks like she's performing it even though she doesn't have to. Okay. Zog the Gemara. Amar Papa Shmamina Zdadin Asur. There's all machlokes in the Gemara. If you're allowed to use an animal on the side of the animal, or it's just on top of its back. But from over here, that the Gemara says that it's also, our Mishnah says, you're not allowed to lean on the animal on its head. That's dadim. That's the side part of that. It's not normal to put packages on top of the animal's head. Just like it's not normal to put over here, let's dadim. The whole machlokes is, could you use the back of the animal? It's also to use the back of the animal. Machlokes is, could you use on the side? So over here also, since there's no machlokes on the head, obviously, you see from here that let's dadim is also. It's also to put, even on a weird place, like a head, it's also to use. This is let's look this dadim. It's dadim asurim. Rav Ashi Omar, Tabi Yudzayin Omnal. I feel that it's dadim mutarim. Called about the gabo ki gabedami. Maybe you'll say at the end of the day, on the side over here is mutter. But since this is in the same level as the back, it's on the same playing field, that's why it's awesome. It's no raya from the head of the animal. The official Mishnah sponsored the Refuah Shlema of Braina Bas Yenta Devaira. Says the Eli Mishnah. Mishnah sponsorship available. Good. Bei Shama Yorimim. Mivim Shlamim Ve'ein Tzomchim Aleim. So going back to the first daf of Chagigah, when we learned that there are 3 korbanos that you bring when you come to the Beis Hamikdash on Sukkot, and 4 to 5 safe trip. Is that you're leaving the country? Safe trip, Hillel. 4 to 5 korbanos, depending if you want to count the Chagigah of Yudalid for Korban Pesach. But at least these 3, you have to bring a Oila when you see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Beis Hamikdash. You have to bring Shalmei Chagigah and a Shalmei Simcha. Says the Mishnah. Where are those guys? They left already? The whole island left? So, are my guests here? The guests that were by me for Shabbos, they left? Snuck out the back door. Okay, great. They had enough. They thought of the whole shir's emails. They left, probably. I was going to be mechaber him. Okay, too late for him. Beis Hamikdash mivim shlamim ve'ein soimchin aleim. So, say Beis Shammai, what about Shalmei Chagigah? She says, you bring it on Yantif, you could check it on Yantif, you're going to eat from it, tzaychol nefesh, ve'ein soimchin aleim. You don't do smicha. What do you mean you don't do smicha? But you have to do smicha. So you do smicha erev Yantif. So this goes back to different machlokes that we had. Teichef l'smicha shchita. Do you have to do smicha immediately before the shchita? Mishami hold, you don't have to do it immediately. You could do it one day, put the animal away somewhere, and do the shchita a different time. So therefore he says, Ein soimchim aleim. You shouldn't. Mishami back to the shchita. You don't do smicha on Yantif. Do it before Yantif. And you can bring the carbon. Avalai, oilais. We don't bring an oila. Why? Because an oila is kulil Hashem. Now, where's the pasuk here? We'll find it. This is the oichel nefesh that we know about Yantiv. If you're cooking on Yantiv, make sure it's for you, not for Hashem. Oil goes to Hashem, kulil Hashem, so you don't have the right to shecht it on Yantiv. Shlamim, which you can eat, is like your wife makes chicken on Yantiv and meat, so you can make shlamim. You can go shecht it and you eat it. You could do both. He learns from the word lachem, and not for a non-Jew. The oichel nefesh, you could cook, but not for somebody that's not Jewish. Because we still hold tekef le smicha shchita. You must do the smicha right before you do the shchita. So I don't have a choice. I can't do it erev yantiv. So I do it right now in yantiv. Okay, next case. Atzeres shechalis be'erev Shabbos. Here we go. We have 3 days that we're going to be talking about. Friday, Shabbos, Sunday. Friday is Shavuos. You see, luchos, a little wheat, Shavuos. The next day is Shabbos. Candles and challah, like a Mishnah. And Mishamai say, if Atzeres, Shavuos, falls out, Be'erev Shabbos on a Friday, B'shama yoimrim, yoim tevayach achar Shabbos. So remember these words, yoim tevayach. The day of the Shechita happens on a Sunday. That's B'shama hold. So even though there's a Shabbos, of course you can't shecht. And you can't shecht, according to B'Shamai, on Yantav, right? That we learned. Shouldn't be shechting karbanis on Yantav. So when do you do it? On Sunday. No, you don't do it on Sunday. There's no such thing. Then when? So we're going to see in the Gemara. Right then and there. The Gemara wants to say maybe something else. No. If Yantav Shavuos falls out on Shabbos, since there's no Eichel Nefesh anymore, it's Shabbos, you can't be Mechal Shabbos for food, and it's just Shlamim, so even Beis Hillel agree that the Shechting, here's this guy Shechting, happens on Sunday. Ein Koyin Gadol Mislabish B'Kelev. So what happens? We're going to shech these animals, Yishlamim, on Sunday. The Kohen should not walk around in his house, or he shouldn't walk from his house to the Beis HaMikdash with his fancy Yantav clothing. Why? Because people are going to think, they're going to get confused, they're going to think it's Yantav. Think it's a special day. So what if they think that? We don't want them to think that Sunday is the day. You could fast and you can make a spadin. Why? So you have the famous Dukim, the Beit Toisim. They hold that this pasuk is literal. That we do Sfir Saimer, and Shavuos falls out mimachras HaShabbos, the day after Shabbos. Shavuos has to fall on a Sunday. So if the Kohen is walking from his house to the Beis HaMikdash with his fancy Shabbos clothes, people will say, oh, Sunday is Shavuos. Look, he's even shechting korbanos, all the stuff that he has to make up for Shavuos. So no, we don't hold like them. It's not literal. Mimachras HaShabbos is not referring to a Sunday. Shavuos doesn't have to fall on a Sunday, as we know. And in Mela, he doesn't wear his clothes, and we make tanesim, has spade them, we show them, we fight them on. It's not Yantav today. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shaya. Yeah? So we had this tremendous chiddush a number of times, and here we go into it a little bit. That what? If a person forgot a karban, his oilas riyah, he forgot his oilas riyah, and he couldn't get to it. He couldn't get to the Beis HaMikdash on the first day of Yantav. He's allowed to bring his oilas riyah and his chagigah throughout the entire Yantav. All Sukkot long, even the final day of Sukkot, even on Simchas Torah, and all days of Pesach, Chalamayid, and everything. What about Shavuos? If he forgot his karban on the first day of Shavuos, the tremendous chiddush is that he has another 6 days to make it up. How do we know this? Yeah? We have Xer Shava, a Hekesh. All three of them are in the same pasuk. V'chag ha'matzois, v'chag ha'shavuos, v'chag ha'sukkos, v'lo yiraz pnei Hashem reika. They conducted a study. Every time I start saying joke, I have to think what Avi's going to do at the end of the joke. He gives you this look.
Song wrong. That's the first part. It's v'chag ha'matzois.
And how do I sing it? Hey, get over here. Sing it.
You got it.
Who's right, me or him? He's right? You put the emphasis on the chag?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Okay, I don't know. We're going to we'll start getting at the machlokes. I don't bring rayas from you guys. I don't know. We have to see. Where's Menachem? He's not here. All the Americans are garnished. I just insulted my whole share. Yeah, you're right. You're all right. Okay. Anyways, they conducted a study. What happens? This is what's the joke? But we got this Motzei Shabbos. What happens if the women would have to build a sukkah, and the men would have to clean for Pesach. What would happen? They figured out that both of them would start on Erev Pesach. B'chag HaMatzos, b'chag HaShavuos, b'chag HaSukkos. Makish Chag, I don't care how the song goes. It goes. Makish Chag HaShavuos, l'chag HaMatzos. So we learn from Chag HaMatzos to Chag HaShavuos. That what? He's still humming it over there. He's trying to figure out Chag HaMatzos. It's wrong, right? What? Who? Get over here. Get over here. Get over here. Get over here. It's about, no, seriously, in Panovich, that's how they did it. Panovich is the real nusach. You guys have the more Hasidic nusach. Yalla. Okay. Let's go Shiva Shenema Chag HaMatzos Chag HaShavuos Chag HaSukkos. Makish Chag HaShavuos Chag HaMatzos. Ma Chag HaMatzos is Tashlumin Kol Shiva. As we said, Pesach, you can bring the carbon that you forgot the first day, the entire Chol Hamoed, all the way into the end, the last day Yontif. Av Chag HaShavuos Tashlumin Kol Shiva. So too Shavuos, unbelievable. Even it's a weekday. No. And that's why, by the way, a lot of people no tachnun during that. It's almost like a Yontif. I can still bring karbanas. Ve'ema Makish L'Chag HaSukkos. Who told you? Maybe you should go from Shavuos to Sukkos. And what? Ma Chag HaSukkos Yeshel Tashlumin Kol Shmoina. You have an extra day. Av Chag HaShavuos Yeshel Tashlumin Kol Shmoina. Learn from Sukkos that you have 8 days total. Says the Gemara, Shmini Regel B'fnei Atzmehu. The 8th day is considered its own Yontif. It's Shmini Atzeres. It's Simchas Torah. It's not part of Sukkos. Says the Gemara, hey, Madar Mishmini, Regel B'fnei Atzmoi, who, Hanimilin, Pazer Keshev. Pazer Keshev, we had this before, we'll have it again. For these 6 things, it's considered its own Yontif. That what? Even though the 24 Mishmaros, and they split all the karbanis that they have throughout Sukkot. But when it comes to the final day of Shmini Atzeres of Simchas Torah, no, you have to do you do a raffle. It doesn't go by the Mishmaros. It's a new thing. We just throw out whoever wins. That one count. Zman, you say in Kiddush, Shmini Chag Atzeres, a special Kiddush, special bracha, special Hallel. Regel. What's Regel? It's considered its own Yontif. It has its own thing. Karban, one cow. The least amount of cows that we bring on Sukkot, we go down from, we start high and we keep on going down every day, you get to 7. Shmini Atzeres is 1. Shir Hayayim, it's different. And finally, bracha, there's a special bracha that they used to make for the king on Sukkot, so you make another one on Shmini Atzeres, but not for Tashlumin. It's not considered its own Yontif. Tashlumin, it's all, you still have 8 days. If I forget to bring my carbon on the first day of Sukkot, I can bring it for 8 days, including Simchas Torah. Simchas Torah has its own Hallel, its own, in Shemona Esrei you say, Shmini Chag Atzeres, whatever it is. You're right, for other things, for these 6 things, but for a carbon, it's the same. The first Belzer Rebbe said, interesting thing here, he says, Pazer Kashev, that all the tefillos of Klal Yisrael that are scattered, Mefuzarim, Pazer, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should listen to it, and he listens to it on Shmini Atzeres. Avale'iyin Tashlumin the Rishon. This not, Mishaloi Chag, beyond Tav Rishon Shel Chag, it's not a play on words. Now we know what this means. Chag means to bring a carbon Chagigah. Mishaloi Chag, whoever didn't bring a carbon Chagigah, beyond Tav Rishon Shel Chag, on the first day of Sukkot, Chag, Chagig, it's called it's almost like it's a nice rhyme. Chagig is called a regel v'yontav achron. He could bring a chagiga, the entire yontav, including yontav achron, including. Says the Gemara, tafasta meruba loy tafasta. So I have 2 options. I could learn from Sukkot, which has 8 days, that you could bring on Shavuos the carbon for 8 days straight if you miss it, or from Pesach, which has 7 days. What do I go with? If I have 2 options, what do? I go with the lesser one, tafasta muah, tafasta. Somebody came over to me today and shul. I don't understand. He's not part of this year. Did you understand Rashi well? So I tried to explain it, but then I told him this mashal. He's gewaldig. I remember seeing once, there's a radio station in New York. I never listened to it, but there was, I don't even remember the name, Z100, Power 95, I don't know what those, you remember that? But I never listened to it. So, I was in these Goyish buses, Rahman al-Islan, and the guy was playing Z100. So I once heard, so a guy won this gift. They had a whole thing. He won, they could go into a bank and grab as much money as he wanted for 60 seconds. So I saw the video of it. It's unbelievable. He's grabbing, he's going with sugar, and as he's running out the door, half of it fell onto the ground. That's the fasta merubah tefasta. You try to chop, if you take it easy. If you can grab whatever you grab, that's great. You try to do too much, it doesn't work. I brought, what's the Shabbos? I brought something for you. This stam, a memory aid. It's a little bit of food from Shabbos. No, it's not. My wife made this special. I asked her to make this. No, it's like kutach. What is this? It's tapasta maruba like the pasta. You try to grab too much pasta, it's not going to go. Anyways, fine. When you're desperate, you're desperate. The jokes aren't like that, everything. Okay, anyway, that won't make it to the real. Won't make it. Fine. Another, by the way, seriously speaking, in Yiddishkeit also, we have the musik of tefasta merubah tefasta. A lot of times people, they get all this chizuk, I'm going to learn 6 mesechtas today, I'm going to do 400 tanesim in a row, I'm going to be a big tefasta merubah. Take it small steps. Do the daf. But do the daf, I'll tell you another thing about do the daf. Thank you, Yosef. One of the biggest tragedies today? This guy that wrote the email, he hasn't opened up a sefer in 18 years. How do you explain it? He was in yeshiva, like everybody else. Yeah, he didn't say he never learned before, and this is his first time learning. He says he used to learn. That's what he means. He hasn't opened up in 18 years. You know why? Because tefasta merubah tefasta. They teach us in yeshiva, Eon. So I go to work, I got to learn Eon. But I don't know how to learn Eon. They never taught me in yeshiva how to learn Eon when you're working as a lawyer. It's not very easy to learn Eon. Now, I'm not saying it's worse than Kiyas, and I'm not going into that. It's the fasta merubah tefasta. So what do? They think, okay, it's either Eon, he tries to chap Eon, and I don't get Eon, okay, so nothing. That's the fasta merubah tefasta. So at least do the bare minimum, which is Daf Yomi. Now, you might not understand everything, and it's too fast, I get it, but at least you got something. You want to chap, you want to be a lamdin and be a lawyer, and be a psychologist, and be a dentist? Maybe that doesn't work. It's the fasta merubah tefasta. Tefasta merubah tefasta merubah tefasta. Elo l'may hilchos sekasi rachmana l'chag hasukos. So at the end of the day, if we are learning our limudim from, where is it? Nishda. Rabbi Isai, what's the tefasta merubah tefasta? Anybody remember? Tefasta merubah tefasta. Okay, great. Does anybody remember the zoo? What's the difference in a neder and a davar, Rabbi Isai? What? What's a rezu? But what? A neder and a dava. Which one? Nedava is a rezu. Okay, good. I just want to make sure that the corny things work. So anyway, b'chag hamatzos, b'chag hashvuos, b'chag hasukos. He's banging his head. He can't believe it. All right. We just said we learned from matzos to shvuos. So what do we do with the green? It's extra l'chayra. Says the Gemara. La kushe l'chag hamatzos, ma chag hamatzos ton lina, af chag hasukos ton lina. There's a chiyuv. If you didn't know this, it's a great thing you came tonight. There's a chiyuv when you go to Yerushalayim with your korbanos, Be'ezer Hashem next week, or in a few days from now, we go to the Beis Hamikdash. You have to stay there overnight. You can't just dump your carbon, shechted, yotzed, jump back to Bet Shemesh. You have to grab a hotel, sit tight. How long? Rabbi said, how long? Anybody know? One night? Not so pashit. You're all wrong. Ton lina. Avchag hasukos ton lina. That what? You have to be there Matzah Yontif as well. The night of Yontif, the following night, 2 nights. 2 nights.
charge you for both nights.
They charge you, but over there, everything's free. No, in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, it's free. Come, sit, sleep, and that's why we learned it's free, and that's why you have to leave him your hides. You leave hides. You give a little tip when you leave. Can't charge you. Fine. By the way, question, Yosef. This is for you, Yosef Herman. If Yosef Herman doesn't know the answer, then the next guy goes. Who is the first human being to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Lina in this world? Is your name Yosef? Oh, very good. Yaakov Avinu. Why? How do we say? Vayolin Sham. He went to Har Moriah, to the Beis Hamikdash, to daven. Davening is like a korban. There's no korbanos then. Vayolin Sham. He's Mekayim the mitzvah of Lina. I did? Okay. Now we're turning to Daf. Sukkistan Lina. V'hasam inalam. How do you know that there's Lina? We're learning Sukkos from Pesach. Just like Pesach, you have to stay over in Yerushalayim, so do Sukkos. And Sukkos, how do we know? And Pesach, how do we know? D'chsev, it says in the pasuk, Ufanisa ba'boiker v'halachta lo yalecha. Now, points out Rashi that you cannot go home on Yontif. You can't go home anyways on Yontif. So why does the Torah say? Why? Because of the problem with Tchum. Tchum is, let's say this is the Beis HaMikdash, I can't go more than 2,000 amma. And even if I put my meal 2,000 amma away, that gives me another 2,000 amma. But I can't get home. Another problem is that the following morning I have to bring Oilas Riyah. The Kitzer, I must stay Pesach night. Pesach night, I came to bring my, what happened? I came to bring my Korban Pesach, Erev Pesach the 14th. Could I go home? No. I'll give you two reasons why I can't go home. I have to be there tomorrow to bring the Oilas Riyah. And I can't walk home because of Tchum. So when Mela says Rashi, it means to tell me that I can't go home even the second night. After the first night of Pesach, Motzei Pesach, the Motzei Yont, I make the first night of Chalamayit. I have to be there in Yerushalayim as well. Because I'm there for 2 days, 2 nights. Says the Gemara, Nan, we learned. Sponsors. You'll do it for me. In honor of Chewy, Woody, and the Kale twins. Sponsored by Moshe Kinsbursky. Very good. In honor of Brian and Talia Edgar. Nan, we learned in our Mishnah. Atzer Shechali is Be'er Shabbos. You have Shavuos that falls out on here. Remember this guy? Shavuos that fell out on a Friday. You shecht the animal on a Sunday. Now, I want to know, the Gemara says, is there Tashlumin on Shavuos? This idea that you're telling me that if I forget to bring my korban on Shavuos, I have 7 days to bring it, is that correct? Here, from our Mishnah, it seems like you're wrong. Why? My love, ein la yom tevayach klal. It seems like there's no, basically will say, there's no day of shechting. What does that mean? I can't shecht it right over here. Beis gimel dal hey. That's why I put these in here for this part. There's no tashlumim. I can't make it up. It says ein la yom tevayach. You cannot shecht it. Says the Gemara, no, that's not how I read it at least as well. La shein etzricha yom tevayach. You don't need a day to shecht it. That I could shecht it on Yontif itself, according to Beis Hillel. According to Beis Hillel, I shecht the animal on Yontif. I don't have to wait until the next day. So what do you, really? Is that the pshat that's coming to tell me that I could shecht it on Yontif? That's in the Mishnah itself, right beforehand, that tells me that chiddush. The machlokes between Beis Hillel and Misham. This not our Mishnah. We just learned it today. Bishame hold, bring the shlamim and don't do smicha. And when do you do smicha? We explained erev Yontif. And don't bring a oila because that goes kulei Hashem. So we already learned this halacha. They allowed to bring a korban on Yontif. Says Gemara tzricha. The Ashmi in Baha. If I would say in the case of not this case, the case that I'm bringing in the middle of the week. Because I could bring it right away the next day. But in this case, that Shavuos falls out on a Friday, maybe Bishami will say, let them just shecht it right there and then on Friday on Yontif. Why? 2 days later, who's going to remember? People forget. People don't remember what they're doing the next minute. They're going to remember 2 days later to bring a carbon. They're going to get confused. And if I say this case that Shavuos falls out on a Friday, Basil said shechted on a Friday because you can't shecht it on a Shabbos. And I don't want to shecht it on a Sunday because that people are going to forget. But in a regular case, in the middle of the week, maybe say push it off one day. Maybe that they won't forget. Tzricha. Okay. So I need both cases in the Mishnah. Tashma. The Vilna Gaon takes out this word. It's very, very important that he took it out. It makes the whole sugya now make sense without that word. If you didn't bring your Karban Chagigah on Pesach, and you didn't bring it on all of the days of Sukkot, and you didn't bring it on Shavuos, Shuv Einoi Chagig. You can't make it up. That's it. We even learned the Lashon, no? Mu'uvas lo yuchal iskain. It's too late. You can't bring it. My love, Yantav Shalat Tzeres. So it says Mefurish, if you forgot to bring your carbon on the one day, when everybody goes and learns all night, the following morning you were too tired, you slept in, and you didn't bring your carbon. Mu'uvas lo yuchal iskain. You can't bring your carbon anymore. And what is that a raya? That we don't have Tashlumin. You're telling me they have 7 days to bring it. Here it says Mefurish, you can't bring it at all. Loi, Yom Tavayach. It means not Yom Tov, the days that you could shecht it, which are the 6 days following Shavuos. Now, how did I get from Yom Tov to Yom Tavayach? So first of all, one pshat is because it sounds very similar. Yom Tov, Yom Tavayach. Another pshat is that it's an abbreviation, Yud Vav Tes. And we read it, we thought that it's Yom Tov. But it's the abbreviation of Yom Tavayach. It's a different word. Not that we heard it wrong, it's just the way it was written confused us. And that's why the Vilna Gaon takes out the word Harishon. Because if it says V'yantiv, and you're talking about Tavayach, then the word Harishon has zero to do. It ruins it. If it said the word Harishon, then it's obvious we're talking about Yantiv and not Yom Tavayach. Yom Tov Harishon. There's no Yom Tavayach Harishon. The Vilna Gaon says you got to take that word out, otherwise the Gemara later on doesn't make any sense. How could I confuse the word Yom Tov with Tavayach if the following word is Harishon? Harishon goes only with the word Yom Tov. It doesn't go with the word Tavayach. There's no first day of shechting. There's first day of Yom Tov, but there's no first day of shechting. Anyway, says the Gemara. Ihachi nifshat mina dechad yom tavayach. Oh, so l'chayra. Well, the Vilna Gaon takes this out, I think. Akol panim. But well, let's just read it. Well, l'chayra it says yom tavayach harishon. So there's only one day you can make it up. I mean, you made tavayach. Okay. What happened, Gary? What's him saying? We all heard that. So what's going on? No, nothing. Okay. Thought somebody died or something.
Watching a game up there.
What? Oh, that's why you just said that? Do that instead. Yeah, we're changing it around. Okay. Tashma. Tashma. The Tani Rabbi Shmuel was still on this thing. Could you make up? You forgot to bring your carbon in Shavuos. Could you make it up or not? The Tani Rabbi Shmuel Amra Torah, right? Where it's like the lines are wider now. The Tani Rabbi Shmuel Amar Torah Menei Yomim V'Kadesh Chodesh. How do you do Rosh Chodesh? Count days. How many days? 30 days. Count 30 days. Days. How are we counting? What's the unit of counting? It's not an hour. It's not a minute. It's a day. We're taking days and we're counting them to 30, and then we say, okay, it's Rosh Chodesh. Menei Yomim V'Kadesh Atzeres. Count days, and then you have Shavuos. Says Gemara. Ma chodesh l'minuyov, afatzeres l'minuyah. Just like Rosh Chodesh is based on days, so too Atzeres is Atzeres also. Shavuos is by days. Count 49 days and you have Shavuos. My love, gomar mechodesh, ma chodesh yom echad, avatzeres yom echad. Yeah. So l'chayra, from here you see that there's no tashlumim. Just like Rosh Chodesh is a 1 day. You're learning Shavuos from Rosh Chodesh, and Rosh Chodesh is a 1 day affair. So too, Shavuos is only 1 day. You can't make it up. Talking about counting days for Sfiras HaOmer. So first of all, I want to tell you a story that happened with Reb Yankel Miller. You know what that is, right? Huh? The Yamaruv. So Yankel Miller went out to a guy on the first night of Sfiras HaOmer, and he says, "Could you please be mighty me?" So the guy says, "Mighty me? You already missed it on the first day of the Omer?" He goes, "Ha! I got you. Now I'll be mighty you." Okay. But anyway, on talking about Sfiras HaOmer, some people just got it now, some people didn't get it at all. We can't, you listen and review it and you chab. Sfiras HaOmer, by the way, we count 1, then 2, then 3, but it's a countdown, right? So how come we don't count 49, 48, 46, 10, 9, 8, blast off? What? Why do we count this way? So I heard a Gewaltige Pshat from Farbstein. He says, because we want to show that it's not the end goal that we're going. Every day counts. It's not about the Omer, it's about the Yomi. All right. No, but seriously, when it comes to, let's say, Torah also, it's not about finishing a Masechta. Every day is a journey. Every day we're having fun. We're learning Torah. Every day is Geshmak. It's about the day. Every day is a day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Zog the Gemara. Amar Rava v'tizbera Oto atzeres Yom Meninon Shvuy Yom Meninon. What do you mean? You're only counting. So the Gemara wants to prove that we're counting single days like Rosh Chodesh. Says Rava, what are you talking about? We also count weeks. V'amar Abaya mitzvah lemimnei yoymei d'chsiv tisberu chamishim yoyim u'mitzvah lemimnei shavuah. There's a mitzvah to count weeks. By the way, the Beis Halevi paskins. I'm not saying this is halacha, but he himself paskins that if a person drops out of Sfiras HaOmer, he forgot a day, he should still count the weeks. Every time a new week comes, he says Yoim or Hashavua, Shloisha Shavua is ba'omer. That's what he holds. To the point where Rabbi Yosef Ber Soloveitchik told one of the maskilim, he says, "Oh, your father's always machmir." He said, "No, my father's makel." He said, "You could count weeks," which is bad. Okay, fine. Anyway, I think it was a joke. Void. And another thing he says, Chag Shavuos. What is it called? It's called Shavuos, weeks. You're focusing on the day, that it's days, and that we're counting days. We're using days as the unit. In fact, weeks are even more important than days. The whole name of the Chag is Shavuos, weeks, not Yomim. We don't call it Chag HaYomim, it's called Chag HaShavuos, meaning weeks. So you see that the weeks are very important here. And therefore what? Mamela, I could do Tashlumin for the whole week, and not 1 day like you wanted to tell me. The Bay, Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov Tana. Now we're going to learn another pshat, another reason why you could do Tashlumin. One reason was that we learned Shavuos from Pesach, and just like Pesach, you can do Tashlumin, you can make it up all Pesach. Now another pshat. Omakra ukurasem ubekutzrechem. So here's the pasuk. You have two pasukim one after another. Pasuk Chovav says ukurasem betzem hayom hazeh mikra kodesh yelachem. You're going to announce that it's a day, it's a yantif. Following pasuk Chav Beis, it says ubekutzrechem. Okay. What yantiv are we talking about, says the Gemara? What yantiv do you decide and you koveya that this should be kadosh and also reap the wheat? Emas. Now, when exactly are we talking about? You're talking about on yantiv itself? K'tzir yantiv mishari. It's also to do k'tzira. Right? Even though it's Achal Nefesh, whatever, you can't do K'tzira. When do we do K'tzira on a Yantav, Rabbi Isai? Anybody? When could you do K'tzira? We learned it a number of times. On Pesach, we do K'tzira on Yantav for the Omer. Because you have to reap it that day. We're doing the Omer the next morning, we have to do it very close. Okay. It's referring to the following day, not on Yontiv itself. And this is the idea of Tashlumin. You can make up the carbon of Shavuos. But wait a minute, I already have another pshat. I have this. I don't know if I'm going to find. Yeah, this one. Yeah, why not? It's right on top almost. I have this pshat that teaches me that you can make up your carbon Shavuos, and I learned it from Matzos. And now he brings me another one, another source. I have two sources. Which one is it? Says the Gemara. Vavagav the Itmar the Rebelazar Mishaya. Rebelazar Mishaya. A hekesh. It's the Rebelazar Yaakov. Dim the Rebelazar Mishaya Avamina. Matashum Shachag Hamatzis Osabasis Malacha. If I'm only going to learn from this one directly straight out of Pesach, well, it's a little different. Why? Because the 7 days of Pesach, you're not allowed to do malacha. Remember, we had a whole Masechta Mayit Katan. You can't do work on Chalamayit. After Shlumi Atzeres, Nami Osabasis Malacha. So maybe all 6 days after Shavuos should be like a Chalamayit. You can't do malacha. People shouldn't go to work. You shouldn't be able to write. You shouldn't be able to work hard. All these things. The only time you're allowed to work on Chalamayit is for Hefs Meruba, Davavid, all this stuff. We don't have halacha like that after Shavuos. Kamash Malon. So not to be confused and say that, I'm coming up with another pshat, another source. Here, Ukarasim, Uvikutzura. Now, if I only go with this, even the Rebbe Yaakov, Loidanakama, it doesn't say how many days. What am I comparing it to? How many? 1 day, 3 days, 5 days? I'm telling you, it's like Pesach, 7 days. Have a wonderful week. See you at Good. See you tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, at 7:15 sharp.